The King's Avatar, Chapter 1662 Fighting to Go First, Audio Source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1662, Fighting to Go First. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. In the end, Josekai lost. Josekai had been Samsara's second player in the group arena. His first match was against Happy's first player, Yishu, before finally falling to Happy's fourth player, Fang Rui. Even so, the fans on Samsara didn't feel satisfied. They felt that it was somewhat of a pity. They really thought that Josekai was playing well enough to pull off a 1v4. Unfortunately, he ended up losing to Fang Rui. He got caught in the trap. The Samsara fans all had the same thought. Fang Rui was truly too cunning. Just take a look at the post-fight numbers. Cloudpiercer had started the fight with 45% of his health, and how much damage did Boundless C deal? 13%. What did this mean? It meant that Cloudpiercer had lost 32% of his health to NPCs. An unfair advantage. The Samsara fans were furious, choosing to forget about Josekai's fight with Mofan. In that fight, the post-fight statistics showed that Josekai's Cloudpiercer only dealt a total of 23% of Deception's health. The other 77% had been lost to NPCs. Under similar circumstances, players would always take advantage of what they could. It was just that in the Josekai vs Mofan match, the situation allowed for Josekai to more easily suppress his opponent. In the Fang Rui vs Josekai match, what Fang Rui needed to do was far more complicated. As a result, even though the outcome was the same, it seemed much more difficult for Fang Rui to achieve. It was hard not to have a different impression of the fight. Fans would always be in defense of their idols. For Samsara's fans, it was almost to the point of shedding tears for his grievances. But after seeing Josekai walk out from the player booth, everyone immediately stood up and applauded crazily. Even though it was too bad that it wasn't a 1v4, it was still a 1v3. It was still an unprecedented achievement in the finals. Another brushstroke was added to Josekai's name in the history books. Josekai didn't look to talk, but he wasn't like Mofan, who would completely ignore everyone else. As the fans cheered his name, he waved his hands towards them as he walked down from the stage. The players on Samsara also stood up and applauded to welcome their captain back. They were tired of praising him at this point and actually started to complain. "You're so fierce, what's there left for us to do? So you can take care of the team competition by yourself, right?" Ha! Josekai just laughed, but he didn't say anything. Everyone stopped joking around and quickly began discussing who to send for the next fight. "My turn." Lu Boyuan volunteered to go up. In the previous team competition, he and Duming had tried to pincer Fang Rui in an alleyway, but Duming ended up being the one trapped there. At that time, he could only watch helplessly as his friend was killed. He had already been holding it in by then. Later on in the team competition, he and Fang Minghua had been stalled by Fang Rui alone for an unbelievable amount of time. Fang Minghua was a healer, who needed to be protected by him. But let alone push away Fang Rui, he hadn't even been able to get Fang Minghua's laughing song to escape. He had lost badly to Sumo Chung in the previous group arena too. Lu Boyuan knew that he had been a huge reason for Samsara's defeat last game. During these 2 days, Lu Boyuan would often think about his time in Season 8. That season's final had been the pinnacle of his professional career. Through his incredible plays, he helped Samsara take down Blue Rain to win the team their first championship trophy. After that final, Lu Boyuan's spot as a top player and an all-star had been established. But now, his chaotic Cloudy Mountains had even better stats than before. At that time, when speaking of Glory's #1 grappler, it wasn't him, but Tiny Herb's flying drops. Later on, in order to help strengthen his chaotic Cloudy Mountains, the team purchased the famous flying drops and dismantled him for his equipment. Lu Boyuan's character had gotten stronger, more famous, but why was he playing worse? Why? Was it because his desire for victory wasn't as great as before? Was it because he had gotten complacent after winning 2 championships? No, definitely not. He wanted more championship victories, more glory. How could just 2 be enough? Lu Boyuan burned with fighting spirit. Seeing Fang Rui on stage, his thirst for battle was stronger than ever. He wasn't the only one who wanted to go up. Du Ming had been playing spectacularly last game, but he ended up losing to Fang Rui in the group arena. The team competition had been even more frustrating. Seeing Fang Rui on stage, he wanted revenge. Plus, after beating Fang Rui, Happy's next player should be that person, no? Thinking of this, Du Ming started getting impatient. Lu Boyuan had just said that he wanted to go, when Du Ming interrupted. My turn, my turn, my turn. Lu Boyuan glared at Du Ming. Me. Du Ming ignored him. Who played next wouldn't be decided by just the 2 of them. He wasn't going to bicker with Lu Boyuan. Du Ming looked eagerly towards his captain, vice-captain, and even Fang Minghua. The people with the most authority on the team was their captain and vice-captain, of course, but number 3 wasn't the talented Sun Xiang nor their other all-star, Lu Boyuan, but Fang Minghua. Although he was the least famous among Samsara's main roster, he was the most senior member in Samsara. He had started in Season 4, a part of the Golden Generation. That season had too many astonishingly talented rookies, overshadowing many other excellent rookies. Fang Minghua had been one of the nobodies of Season 4. He had joined Samsara and became a part of the main roster. In the blink of an eye, 7 years had passed. The radiance of the geniuses of the Golden Generation shined brighter than ever. Huang Shaoshan, Yu Wenzhou, Zhang Xinji, Chu Yongshu, Su Mucheng, Li Xuan. Who hadn't heard of them? Wuxia Yet for all their fame, who among those in that generation had the most championships wins, the greatest glory of them all? Within these 7 years, the Season 4 players who had won the most championships as main roster players weren't Huang Shaoshan, or Zhang Xinji, or Chu Yongshu. It was Li Yihui. It was Fang Minghua. Li Yihui had been considered a member of the Golden Generation, an all-star player, winning 2 championships together with Tiny Herb. But he ended up being the first among the Golden Generation to fall. After transferring to Team 301, he completely lost his luster. Within 2 seasons, he quickly became one of the forgotten. But Fang Minghua wasn't a member of the Golden Generation. He had been a mediocre rookie in Season 4, but he was the one who got the last laugh. As the healer, he won 2 consecutive championships in Season 8 and Season 9. He was on his way towards the teams and his 3rd championship win. He wasn't as famous as those in the Golden Generation, but as Samsara's healer for 7 years, his seniority in the team wasn't low. Because apart from just being there for 7 years, his contributions towards Samsara were well received. He had been the one to strongly recommend Josekai to Team Samsara. He had believed that Josekai was a player who could not be let go no matter the cost. At that time, Samsara's sharpshooter was their captain, Zhang Yiwei, and he wasn't nearly as confident in Josekai's potential. It was under Fang Minghua's relentless insistence that Samsara made the decision to take Josekai. There were even rumors that his firm stance made Samsara's captain Zhang Yiwei extremely displeased with him. However, Zhou Zekai soon proved that Fang Minghua's opinion hadn't been an overstatement. In Season 6, when Fang Minghua recommended Jiang Botao, the team highly valued his opinion. That winter transfer season, they decisively purchased Jiang Botao. And once again, Fang Minghua had found another incredible player for Samsara. This mediocre rookie of Season 4 had helped the team wholeheartedly. He had seniority. He had contributed much to the team through great efforts, but he never showed off. He wasn't the captain. He wasn't the vice-captain. But no one on Samsara would ever disregard his opinions. And he had always done his utmost from beginning to end. He hadn't changed these 7 years. Even if he offended the captain and the core player, he would never give up on his viewpoint. If he had a recommendation, he would never hide it. I think Liu Boyuan should go, Fang Minghua said. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1663-3. 3%. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1663. 3. 3%. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Fang Rui sat in the player booth, quietly waiting for his next opponent. I won. And it was against Zhou Zekai. He had ended Zhou Zekai's win streak. To many, Fang Rui had already done something worthy of pride. But Fang Rui wasn't satisfied. Zhou Zekai. So what? Did beating him mean that they had won the finals? No. Not only did it not guarantee them the championship trophy, it didn't even guarantee them the group arena. To Fang Rui, Zhou Zekai was just Samsara's second player in the group arena. Yes, he was formidable and difficult to defeat, but more importantly, after him was Samsara's third player. If he beat him, it would only be another small step towards victory. There are even more obstacles that need to be passed. What was there to be happy about? He was still far from being happy or proud. Next, his goal was to beat the next one. After that, it would be the next one, and then the next one. His thirst for victory would never falter. It was only by constantly beating the next person would he be able to stand on the final podium. So who's next? Come. The next one came. Samsara's third player was Liu Boyuan. In the end, Samsara went with Fang Minghua's recommendation. All of Team Samsara trusted him deeply. This didn't mean that he held the most authority on the team, or that he was taking advantage of his contributions to the team. It was the exact opposite. Everyone respected that he never made a display of these 2 points. He was someone who always judged the matter as it stood, using reasoning to persuade others. Liu Boyuan had his wish fulfilled. He had been overjoyed at having the opportunity to go on stage, but he quickly calmed himself down. By the time he made it to the player booth and loaded into the game, he had let reason take over him. The match officially began. One side was a chi master, the other side was a grappler. This was a battle between 2 fighters. Liu Boyuan's grappler, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain, came in full of energy. As for Fang Rui's chi master, Boundless Sea, even though he had won against Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer, he had lost 47% of his health left. He still had 53% left. After all, Boundless Sea had been under pressure from the NPCs the entire time. It was impossible for him not to have lost any health in the process, yet he had won under these conditions. It was true that it was intentional, but it still made everyone look at him with a whole new level of respect. If they had been the ones playing, would they have been able to do it? However, for this match, it didn't look like Fang Rui planned on doing the same thing. After the match began, his Boundless Sea charged out, beat his opponent, and then move on to the next one. Fang Rui only had this one thought. He knew clearly that he wouldn't be able to do much more in today's decisive game. Even though he had only been against someone with 45% of his health left in the previous fight, it had exhausted him. The strategy that he had chosen had increased the weight of the burden on him. Whether it was his character's health or his own energy, the chaotic battle that he had placed himself in was much more exhausting than a normal one. His condition hadn't been great to begin with either. He felt the fatigue. He could feel his focus slipping, but he persisted. He had beaten Joe Zekai, and now, he was going to beat his next opponent. Because he knew that this would be his last fight this season. How far he could go would be how far he went. Today, he probably wouldn't be able to fully recover. He probably wouldn't be able to help the team in the more important team competition coming up. Fang Rui was unsatisfied, extremely unsatisfied. He was Happy's highest paid player with Happy's strongest character. He would never forget that. But when the team need him the most, in their most crucial game of the season, he couldn't help. Fang Rui hated this feeling. He truly loathed it. But he couldn't be rash. He didn't think about trying to persevere for the team competition. Because from the start, he had known exactly how much he would be able to contribute in today's match. He had originally planned on saving his energy in the group arena, and coming out in the more important team competition. But right now, he could no longer play at 100% for the team competition. He was afraid that he would instead become the team's burden. As a result, all that remained was the present, the group arena. How much he would be able to contribute would be how much he contributed. This here would be his everything. The two characters met in the middle of the canyon. Lu Boyuan was eager to battle. Fang Rui didn't delay because he knew that his condition wouldn't get any better with just a few seconds of rest. He wanted to do everything he could while he still had the ability to. Forward. Boundless Sea continued forward, but chaotic Cloudy Mountain didn't cower either. The two sides grew nearer and nearer. As a Chi Master, he could have started attacking a while ago, but he didn't. He wasn't planning on engaging in close combat, was he? Of the four fighter classes, Chi Masters were the weakest at close combat. On the other hand, strikers and grapplers held the top ranks among all the classes in glory. Fang Rui couldn't possibly think about fighting up close. What was he scheming? Everyone was thinking the same thing, including Lu Boyan. A player like Fang Rui didn't feel trustworthy. What you saw on the surface was always fake. Lu Boyuan didn't even dare to blink. He stared intently at the approaching enemy. Roll. Boundless Sea suddenly rolled. Chaotic Cloudy Mountains hadn't attacked. He wasn't close enough, yet Boundless Sea looked as if he were dodging frantically. The scheme is coming. Everyone thought, including Lu Boyuan. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain immediately made a move. He jumped to the side. Who cared what Boundless Sea was scheming? Moving unpredictably would always be safe. But Boundless Sea didn't do anything. The roll just seemed to be a normal roll. Lu Boyuan kept up his guard. Wasn't it normal to see Fang Rui do something puzzling? He couldn't be careless for even a second. But he still had to try to take the initiative. Lu Boyuan kept his guard up, while Chaotic Cloudy Mountain approached. Grapplers had to get up close to attack. Boundless Sea rolled again. This time, it wasn't forward, or to the left, or to the right, but backwards. The broadcast and the stadium screens immediately zoomed in on Boundless Sea. Everyone thought that Fang Rui was definitely scheming something just like the last roll. There hadn't been anything last time. But this time, Fang Rui didn't let them down. During his roll, Boundless Sea sneakily rubbed his palms together. Lu Boyuan couldn't see it, but the spectators watching carefully could. Everyone suddenly felt a moment of, I know what's going to happen next. But even if they knew, it wouldn't be of any use. A chi blade flew out. Boundless Sea kept rolling, changing directions slightly. How devious! The spectators who noticed Boundless Sea's sneaky chi blade immediately knew what Boundless Sea's goal was. His chi blade hadn't been aimed towards chaotic cloudy mountain, but with Boundless Sea changing direction, if Lu Boyuan followed along and chased after him, the chi blade would be perfect. The chi blade and Boundless Sea's change of direction had been linked together closely. The angle was even more dirty. If Lu Boyuan was watching his movements carefully, if Lu Boyuan kept up with his tempo and adjusted accordingly, the chi blade would be very easy to overlook. WuxuaWorldAudio.com. So, was focusing too hard, reacting too fast, a mistake against Fang Rui? Unfortunately for Lu Boyuan, he committed this mistake. He had been eager to fight, but he maintained his calm. He also made sure to be attentive and to react fast. He was playing incredibly well, but that resulted in him getting hit. Chi blade. He only noticed it when the attack landed. A mark from the chi blade appeared on chaotic cloudy mountain's body. Everyone felt sorry for Lu Boyuan. Chi blade had a knockback. Lu Boyuan's rhythm was interrupted, and the reason was because he was playing too well. But everyone soon realized that chaotic cloudy mountain's rhythm hadn't been disrupted by the attack. The step he had been taking was the step he took. Oh. Everyone realized what it was. Reinforced iron bones. Lu Boyuan had already activated reinforced iron bones. When the replay from his perspective was shown, it turned out that he indeed hadn't seen the chi blade. Lu Boyuan had reacted too fast and adjusted too quickly. However, he had activated reinforced iron bones earlier. He seemed to have predicted that he would definitely fall for Fang Rui's dirty trick and get hit. Hit me all you want, but don't think that'll stop my advance. Chaotic cloudy mountain marched forward resolutely. The Samsara crowd erupted with wild applause. 3 inches. At this moment, the number 3 inches popped up in the public chat. The sender was Boundless Sea, Fang Rui. What did that mean? Everyone stared blankly at the number. Was he intentionally making things mysterious again? Ignore it. Kill him. The crowd once again erupted into shouts. It was 3%. In the stadium, at a remote and inconspicuous corner, which wasn't even considered a seat, there was a person standing there, watching the match. He saw through what the 3 inches meant. If someone looked back to see who he was, they would probably recognize him instantly. It was Lin Jingyan, who had announced his retirement after the semi-finals. Team Wind Howl's Lin Jingyan, Team Tyranny's Lin Jingyan. It didn't matter what team he was on, or if he was retired, he was the person who understood Fang Rui the best. It was 3%. The damage that the chi blade had dealt was 3%. Fang Rui was keeping track of his damage dealt. He was using this method to record how much he contributed to today's match. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1664. It ends here. Audio source, WuxuaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1664. It ends here. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. Roll, jump, crawl. Fang Rui was like a fish in the water, moving around freely no matter how shameful it looked. Lu Boyuan's chaotic cloudy mountain stepped forward with reinforced iron bones active, but in the end, Fang Rui was able to escape. And after seeing that chaotic cloudy mountain had activated reinforced iron bones, he took advantage of it to throw out 2 skills without any concealment. Reinforced iron bones was valuable for its super armor buff, and super armor was valuable for allowing the user to ignore incoming enemy attacks. If you dodged and hid yourself while using reinforced iron bones, then you were wasting the super armor. More numbers appeared in the public chat from Fang Rui. No one had thought anything of the previous 3 inches, but after seeing this, 5 inches and 6 inches. People were finally beginning to catch on. Is he counting how much damage he's dealing? How dirty? Everyone sighed. This time, even the pro players thought that Feng Rui was using his dirtiness to engage in a psychological battle, listing out every damage he dealt to increase the mental pressure on his opponent. It obviously wasn't wrong to think this, and it was indeed something Feng Rui would do. But today, it wasn't actually his intention. He was simply using it as a way to remind himself to keep himself focused. Soon afterwards, 2 more attacks landed on Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. The number jumped to 9. His attacks weren't anything special. He was taking advantage of the fact that Lu Boyuan wouldn't give up on trying to take the initiative with reinforced iron bones activated. If you want to give up, I'll help you give up. But if you don't, then sorry, I won't keep you company. 5 attacks had dealt 9%. But Lu Boyuan's Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had closed the distance considerably. Feng Rui wasn't greedy. He immediately stopped attacking and focused on running away. Suddenly, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain flickered, closing the distance at an extraordinary speed. Cloud Body. Many of the viewers immediately thought of this movement skill. It was the striker's movement skill, Cloud Body, and the skill that Lu Boyuan had placed on his weapon. The skill placed on a pro player's weapon wasn't easy to predict. Since there was no way to guard against it, its first usage in a match would always be extremely effective. Relying on this surprise move, the bit of distance between them was instantly closed. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's 2 hands reached out to grab Boundless Sea. In the previous moment, Boundless Sea had been focused on escaping. In the next moment, he suddenly turned around and threw out a palm. The attack was too fast, too close. It couldn't be dodged, but Lu Boyuan didn't care too much. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain still had reinforced iron bones active. That sort of instinctive attack wouldn't be able to stop him. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's 2 hands went for the grab, when his body suddenly lifted into the air. Qigong Blast. It had just seemed to be an instinctive counterattack, but it turned out to be the Qi Master's level 70 skill, Qigong Blast. The Qi surged through Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's body and wreaked havoc inside. The leather armor on him seemed like it was about to split apart from the outward pressure. A level 70 skill couldn't be used so easily. Feng Rui had planned this ahead of time. He had pretended to run away, but in actuality, he had been waiting for Chaotic Cloudy Mountain to come. He didn't care if Chaotic Cloudy Mountain used a movement skill like Cloud Body. No matter what happened, Lu Boyuan would want to get close to him as fast as possible. This point would never be wrong. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was hit. However, even Qigong Blast couldn't break through super armor. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was able to get a hold of Boundless Sea in the end. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain lifted Boundless Sea up and tossed him into the air, the low-level skill fling. The grabs had begun. However, at the same time, his Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's health slid down by a large chunk. Reinforced iron bones only increased the user's physical defense. However, Qi Master attacks dealt magic damage. The defense buff from reinforced iron bones was useless. 18. Boundless Sea had been tossed into the air, but Feng Rui was still counting. The damage from this level 70 skill dealt more damage than the previous 5 attacks combined. However, the one with the initiative was Lu Boyuan. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain threw Boundless Sea around like a doll. At the same time, he also reported his damage numbers in the public chat. 3, 6, 11, 15. 4 skills, 4 numbers. Grappler skills were powerful. These 4 skills dealt nearly as much damage as a Qi Master's 5 attacks plus a level 70 skill. He wasn't done yet either. Spiraling Whirlwind. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain ended his grappler combi with a level 70 skill. Due to the high grab priority, Feng Rui had no way to escape it. Boundless Sea spun in the air as he crashed to the ground with a boom that echoed through the canyon. 25. Lu Boyuan reported another number. This was the total damage dealt from a single combo, far more than the 18% that Boundless Sea had bitterly built up. This was a grappler. Due to the high priority of grabs, if a grappler could get a single attack to land, the opponent would find it nearly impossible to escape. Grapplers never had long combos, but each attack was extremely powerful. No other class had this sort of consistency in their combos. After the final hit, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain jumped away. Fang Rui had seen through Lu Boyuan's intentions and racked up damage, even getting in a level 70 attack. But so what? In the end, he hadn't been able to control the situation. After the fierce grappler combo, Lu Boyuan was the one who had the advantage. Lu Boyuan had hit back, taking out 25% of Boundless Sea's health. If Fang Rui had been trying to put pressure on his opponent by reporting the damage that he dealt, then it had the opposite effect. With such a powerful counterattack from Lu Boyuan, the one feeling the pressure would be Fang Rui. The dirty method backfired. For the Samsara fans, it was a joyous scene. Pan Lin and Li Yibo also praised Lu Boyuan's counterattack. The spectating pro players all felt that compared to the 25% health lost, the pressure from this counterattack was even more terrifying. Boundless Sea started rolling around on the ground again. He didn't stand up. He just continued to roll. Fang Rui had started his annoying and unsightly movements again. Chi Bullet. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain easily dodged it. Cloud Pushing Palm. Cloud Splitting Palm. Skills poured out. Fang Rui was practically playing the cool-down game, using all sorts of weak, low-level skills. These skills had low cooldowns and fast startups. With so many attacks being thrown out, it indeed wasn't easy to defend against. But so what if it was hard to defend against? A Chi Bullet hit Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. The Chi exploded, but his momentum wasn't impacted at all. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain continued to search for an opportunity to get close to Boundless Sea. 19. Another number in the public chat. After a long struggle, Fang Rui was able to get in a single Chi Bullet, but it had practically zero effect on the battle, dealing only 1%. But Fang Rui recorded it anyways. Even with this 1%, he had only dealt a total of 19%, still not enough to catch up to Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's 25%. However, Fang Rui didn't seem to have noticed the 25% he took. He was still carefully keeping track of his damage. 21. After some more back and forth, he finally got another 2%. He didn't feel any pressure from Lu Boyuan's counterattack. The only thing on his mind was his own numbers. Even when Lu Boyuan had typed out 3, 6, 11, 15, 25 during the grappler combo, Fang Rui was only looking at the 18. The number that Lu Boyuan had surpassed in one combo. 19, 21. Fang Rui carefully and patiently increased this number. There was nothing else on his mind. 24, 28. 25 had been passed, but the thought never crossed Fang Rui's mind because he hadn't even seen the 25. 31. Another successful hit. The stadium was silent. In everyone's eyes, the attacks from Fang Rui couldn't be considered as an offensive play. One attack would just be one attack. This sort of mindless fighting was too amateurish in the eyes of the pro players. But this amateurish fighting was actually frustrating Lu Boyuan. For Lu Boyuan, he couldn't read Fang Rui. Lu Boyuan's intuition and experience couldn't be used against this sort of strategy. Fang Rui's playing was pure and simple. Tactics, schemes, psychological warfare, all of these things had been tossed out by him because he didn't have the energy to think about any of it. After 31, 32. Another 1% damage. Fang Rui counted it. It was a strategy with no thought to it, and it felt deeply oppressive. Lu Boyuan's Chaotic Cloudy Mountain chased after Boundless Sea fiercely, but he just couldn't grab him. All of a sudden, Boundless Sea would nick him with a tiny poke. Everyone was staring intently at Chaotic Cloudy Mountain and two hands, waiting for them to grab Boundless Sea, but that moment never happened. Finally, the NPCs on the two ends spawned and began charging towards each other. None of the two characters were the focus of the NPCs, but it was hard not to be implicated in their battle. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain and Boundless Sea were dodging the NPC attacks, but as they dodged, they would constantly be looking for openings to attack. 35. Amidst the chaos, Fang Rui was able to land an attack. The chaos also increased the number of variables being changed. In the end, Lu Boyuan was able to find an opening. 29. He typed out the total damage dealt after this blow, but this time, because of interference from the NPCs, he wasn't able to continue the combo. Boundless Sea was thrown to the ground, not crashing into any NPCs. Lu Boyuan had done this on purpose. The two had been entangled in the battle between the NPCs for a while. Each of them had gotten in a blow on the other, but neither of them had aggroed the NPCs. From this perspective, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had the advantage. Grappler attacks had to be done at point-blank range. It was practically impossible for him to accidentally hit an NPC. Boundless Sea was different, though. Chi Masters had quite a few mid-ranged attacks. His situation was very similar to Zhou Zekai's situation last round. Fang Rui wanted to attack Lu Boyuan, but he also didn't want to hit an NPC. Fighting from a distance was harder than fighting up close, and compared to Chaotic Cloudy Mountain, Boundless Sea was fighting from a distance. Even so, Fang Rui was still proactive. Boundless Sea weaved in and out through the NPC crowd, searching for an opportunity. Lu Boyuan thought that he had the upper hand. He had even been afraid that Fang Rui would run away, although that never happened. Fang Rui's Boundless Sea was firmly locked onto him. 39. Lu Boyuan made a careless mistake, and was hit by another attack from Boundless Sea. A new number appeared. Does he want to count up to 100? It was still far from 100, but Lu Boyuan was certain. How could he know that 100 wasn't Fang Rui's goal? Fang Rui didn't have a fixed goal. The more the better. 41, 45, 47, 50, 50. Half his health. Not a single attack made anyone feel like Fang Rui had the upper hand, but even so, he had already taken out half of Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's health. As for Lu Boyuan, after his powerful 25% counter-attack, he was only able to get in one more 4% attack. I'm being toyed with by Fang Rui again? Lu Boyuan couldn't keep himself calm. In the end, he was a rather emotional player. When he was playing well, he could make explosive plays one after the other. But when he tilted, his playing would likely falter. In today's match, he had strengthened his resolve. When he came on stage, he carefully sorted out this resolve, so he wouldn't be impulsive. He had suppressed his emotions. He needed to be rational, calm. But Fang Rui's annoying strategy had truly made him lose his temper. His emotions were in an awful state. He just wanted to vent, to explode with anger. And when Fang Rui counted to 50, his baseline was finally shattered. Unable to endure it any longer, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain suddenly made a move. Spiraling Whirlwind. The level 70 skill made its appearance again, but this time, Boundless Sea wasn't in his grasp. His hands grabbed nothing but air. The centripetal force generated from this attack would suck in nearby enemies, but Boundless Sea was a bit too far. With a roll, Boundless Sea escaped. Lu Boyuan didn't stop, launching a group of NPCs into the air. Boom! Like a meteor, he crashed to the ground, spinning like a tornado. All the nearby NPCs were dragged into the whirlwind, falling down like raindrops. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had provoked the NPCs on both sides. Suddenly, all sorts of attacks were thrown towards him. The attacks were aimed at Chaotic Cloudy Mountain, but they wouldn't purposefully avoid Boundless Sea. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain dashed towards Boundless Sea. Previously, he had to be careful to avoid the NPCs. This time, he wasn't going to avoid them anymore. Lu Boyuan was going to sweep aside any NPCs in his way. Pa! A chi bullet exploded. 51. Feng Rui counted again. Lu Boyuan threw all caution to the wind. As chaotic Cloudy Mountain charged forward, he tossed every nearby NPC towards Boundless Sea. Fling, spinning throw, back throw. For a moment, he had turned into a long-ranged attacker. The NPCs nearby were his ammunition. Boundless Sea ran. The incoming NPCs were blocked by other NPCs. Lu Boyuan had made things even more chaotic. 54. Feng Rui was still calm, using every opportunity he saw to get in a hit. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain didn't waver. Reinforced iron bones. He had activated it again. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. This time, he was really planning on just barging through everything in his path. A nearby NPC swung his sword at Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain didn't dodge. He leapt into the air. Aerial twist. His two legs latched onto the NPC's neck. With a twist, the NPC was thrown into the air. Before the NPC landed, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain let go, and then latched onto another NPC's neck. Circle sweep kick. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain held onto the NPC with one leg, and then twisted. Boundless Sea suddenly appeared in front of him. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had used two NPCs as bridges to close the gap between himself and Boundless Sea. Pa! Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's head was whacked. Chi burst forth, flash burst. But it couldn't break apart Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's super armor. His health dropped, but Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had grabbed onto Boundless Sea. Super armor. He had super armor, and Boundless Sea still had 22% health. Amidst this chaos, Boundless Sea wasn't able to completely avoid any injuries. 22%. No matter what, I have to take down that last 22%. The chi burst out from Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's head as Boundless Sea was flung into the air. He quickly looked around him. The NPCs were attacking him non-stop, but with reinforced iron bones active, he only feared CC skills that could break super armor. There were none. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain jumped, his health dropping rapidly. There was NPC damage mixed in with that flash burst. But he didn't dodge any of the attacks. He reached out and grabbed the airborne Boundless Sea. Fatal airdrop. Boundless Sea crashed to the ground. But just two attacks wasn't enough to take out 22%. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain dropped down as Boundless Sea was thrown ruthlessly to the ground. After touching the ground, Boundless Sea bounced back into the air from the powerful impact. At this moment, his character was no longer in a grabbed state, so Feng Rui quickly acted. He couldn't move while in the air. All he could do was have Boundless Sea attack his opponent. How much health does he have left? Because Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was still taking damage from the NPC attacks, Feng Rui wasn't certain. Spiral Chi kill. As Boundless Sea bounced into the air, he frantically sent out an attack. A whirlwind of chi twisted towards the falling Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain didn't dodge. He couldn't dodge because he was also in the air. He reached out with his hands and grabbed Boundless Sea. Overhead toss. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain twisted his arms and threw Boundless Sea back to the ground. He fell, and Boundless Sea fell. But when he stood up, Boundless Sea was flat on the ground. It wasn't over yet. Boundless Sea still had 2% of his health left. After his first grab onto Boundless Sea, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain remained close. Overhead toss into ground toss. Boundless Sea was lifted into the air and then thrown to the ground. Boundless Sea's health dropped to 0. Feng Rui was still staring at Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's health bar. The moment Boundless Sea's health fell to 0, victory was decided, and Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's health was locked into place. Feng Rui could finally see it clearly. 84%. Keep going. Feng Rui was still tapping his keyboard and moving his mouse, but he discovered that Boundless Sea could no longer be controlled. His screen was strange. It had turned gray. Feng Rui stared blankly. 84%. So it ends here. End chapter.